Sorry about that. So I'm Kelechi Chibuikim. I earlier introduced myself, and I'm the disaster recovery coordinator at CEND, and I'll be facilitating this meeting. And my colleague Caleb is going to be the tech guy over there, trying to figure stuff out for me while I proceed. So let's get going. You just go to the next. So today's agenda is basically simple. We've done the introductions and welcoming. I'm going to talk about the overview of the CEDS as well as the timeline. Also going to do a brief overview of the economic trends for the CEND region, as well as for that of Nebraska as well. I'm also going to talk about the progress of CEND since the last CEDS. I think we did the last CEDS sometime in 2018. So that's about 3 years from now. So I'm going to give a brief highlights of progress that CEND has done so far. And whatever questions come about, we'll talk about it. Go back. Yeah. Yes. So the CEDS, which is an abbreviation for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, I believe some of you know that already, is a plan that CEND would put together for 16 counties that we currently serve. And the steps to get there would start with setting up a strategic committee, which is this. And I want to use this opportunity to tell you guys how I'm grateful for your presence. It's an honor to be here in front of you all. And we're also going to talk about the economic conditions of the CEND region, focusing on the county and focusing on the region at large. And afterwards, we're going to do some analysis of figuring out the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and trends and threats that currently face the CEND region. On top of that, we're going to come up with strategies and performance measures that can enable us to put projects in place and actually see that those projects are implemented. And a big thing for this CEDS is economic resilience. EDA has mandated every EDD to actually focus on resilience for the CEDS. So that is something we're going to be putting a lot of efforts in. And towards the end of this project, we're going to have a 1-month period of public comment where members of the public can come in and view the CEDS document when it's ready and give their opinions onto what we might need to change. So the process for coming up with the CEDS, we've done a good job of breaking it into three processes. We have the discovery, which is kind of like what we're doing now, trying to find out certain things that are peculiar to a region. And we would also do a bit of technical analysis as well. If we're trying to figure out what industries we should focus our efforts in, then cluster analysis actually comes into play. The second step is opportunities. So a good thing the CEDS does is actually it opens our eyes to weaker areas as well as to stronger areas. So it gives us that eye to actually look at opportunities and treat opportunities as solutions to problems. And implementation, which is something we're definitely going to be big on this year, is basically setting up projects that are implementable. The thing with planning documents is there's a plan, but they usually don't get implemented. So this is going to be a different route. We're going to try as much as possible to implement about 80% of the projects that we suggest. So what involves the strategic plan? I believe most of you know that already, but I will just touch this to elaborate on it a little bit to make sure that those who don't know what it is can actually have a better understanding. So what involves the plan? We're trying to put together a plan. We're trying to put together a strategic direction for SEND as a region. So the main thing or the key component is information from community members. One way we've been able to achieve that, is to issue out surveys. I remember when sending out the first meeting introduction for this meeting, I don't know if you guys got the mailing packet I sent mailing packets, and I included a link to our survey. So that is one way we getting information from the public. So far, we have a good amount of responses, about 60 or thereabout, but we need more. So we'll definitely lean on you guys to get more responses for us. That is one way of gathering information from the public. Another way is having this stakeholder meeting which is going to be an engaging session where experienced individuals in certain fields can give their opinions and direct us on the right way we should go with regards to the plan. In addition to that, we'll be doing a little bit of data analysis as well. There are a lot of data sets out there that actually do a good job of forecasting and projecting what the SEND region would be like in the coming future, and also would be depending on the experience of the staff at SEND and also strategic committee members to actually gather more information for the plan. This is a deeper. As a strategic committee member, what do we expect from you? The strategic committee member, we at SEND expect that you attend committee meetings. It's not a do or die affair, but we just expect you to attend committee meetings, to engage in every meeting that we're going to be holding. This is one of two, and we're going to be holding the second meeting sometime next month. I would send out the date maybe next week, and also to advocate and assist with our analysis. Our survey needs more attention. So definitely, we believe that everyone here has connections, and we would want to leverage that connection to ensure that we have maximum responses in our surveys. And another research too is digging into the CEDS. There's a copy of our latest CEDS on your table. You can take a look at that whenever you have time and review it and pick out certain information that you think isn't necessary, and also give us input as to what you would like to see in the CEDS that will coming up. So this is a map showing the 16 counties that SEND currently serves, and recently we added Butler a couple of months ago. This is a strategic driven plan. Every EDD must update their CEDS every 5 years. It's a mandatory notion from EDA that we update the CEDS every 5 years. And after that, in addition to that, we would also do annual updates as well. So this meetings will definitely come up in the future. Hopefully next year too, we're going to have this meeting as well to brush up on CEDS annual updates. And it's also a prerequisite from the EDA that every EDD must have a CEDS. And you may wonder what the benefit of having a CEDS is. So the CEDS as a plan, it improves the authenticity of our work. We do a lot of grant writing, and we apply for a lot of funds from the federal government. The CEDS is like that key to open the doors of federal funds. And as you can see, so far, CEDS has helped our member communities get some federal dollars. Jefferson had $2.6 million for an Endicott clay road construction that was still on the floodplain. And COMSA got 1.2 million for the purchase of an electric power generator. And Nebraska City had about 531,000. So the CEDS is actually a funding tool for Sand as a region. So here we have a couple of questions that we want you to answer. If you can pick up your phone and scan the barcode on the screen, it's about to get interesting. So if you need help, just call me. I'll come to help you right away.
If you doesn't scan on the screen, there's a barcode in the packet. So
On page 4.
Your visitor.
Yep, yes, that's it.
Yes. What is the username?
The visitor.
Oh, yeah.
Just click that and I'll let it go through it.
Bring that.
You describe economic development using one word. So you might wonder what we want to do with your responses. Your responses are kind of like integral to the development of the document. And these are keywords that we can use to actually outline our goals in the right order. So every input actually matters. Cool. Like growth a lot. But you want to go to the next slide, please? Oh, yeah, please. Sorry about that. Let's talk about wealth.
What's wrong?
Cool. So this is where it gets interesting. So you got some smarties and some dum-dums. It's not a competition, but if you get it right, you might get one of this or one of dum-dums. And those of you joining on Zoom, you can actually participate as well. That's why we decided to use this approach in the first place. It's about to get tricky.
You know, there was going to be a test right out of the.
Oh, it's a simple test, actually. It's just it's basic questions. I believe so. Surely, yeah. Okay. So you just send it out to him, you can actually send it to. No, we haven't asked the question yet.
Ask the question on there.
I think it's travel. So there's a link on top of the screen. If you're not able to see the barcode, you can go to slides.com/CEDS. Yeah, I think he joined, so. I think it's a good number. How often do we need to hit our sets? Is it a year? Is it 2.5 years? 5 years? Especially for this update. How many years already? Like, oh wow, cool. Everyone is smart. Yes. Yeah, it's actually 5 years. This set update is for 5 years. And then as soon as that is done, we do an annual update, but the official number is 5 years. Okay. I'm gonna show this. Oops, sorry about that, Crystal. I'm trying to get familiar to the names here. Oh, yeah, sorry about that, Crystal. Totally sorry about that. Lisa?
Krista Carly. What?
Did you?
Virtual audiences get candy thrown at them.
Yeah, sorry about that, virtual audience.
You get a thumbs up.
Lisa? Oh, virtual, okay. I'm gonna keep this.
Hi, everyone.
You're an overachiever.
Here we can go to the next question. What keeps you up at night? This is kind of like a personal question, like from your perspective or from your personal opinion, what is something that keeps you on the edge for with regards to economic development in the Sand region, something that you truly want to see get improved? The workforce. That is big too. Workforce seems to be getting a lot of attention. Yeah, this is a beautiful input, and these are definitely words that we're gonna incorporate in the CEDS. It's good to see that we think alike. That workforce too has been a big issue, as well as broadband connectivity and all of that. So these are key themes that we're definitely going to try as much as possible to magnify in the sets so that we all have one language. Thanks for your input. So we're going to go on to the next slide. Here is a bit of research that was done by myself and staff at CEND. So we dug into economic trends for the region as well as for the state of Nebraska. So these trends would actually do a good job of telling us how to position ourselves in the future. We'll look at things like population, look at things like housing, look at things like income, and business as well. So the first interesting chart I have here is the population projection for CEND and the state of Nebraska from 2010 to 2050. We can see that for the CEND region, there's a sharp decline from 2010 to 2050. I'm just curious to know what you guys think about that. What kind of things happen that leads to that kind of decrease in population? Curious to know what people think.
Projection couldn't reflect career and job opportunities within smaller communities. It's going to force them to Omaha and or Lincoln metro areas at the end of the day.
That's something we're going to also talk about. We're going to look at the commuting pattern for the CEND region. We're going to have a good idea of the volume of people that are moving out of the region and the volume of people that are moving into the region. And just to agree with what he said, I think, yeah, that would actually position us in a way to know how that Omaha and also a couple of other cities affect the CEND region with regards to the economy. We can see for the state of Nebraska, it's increasing from 2010 to 2050. So we also did a deeper dive into population as well. So we took the workforce age or working class age, which is 18 to 64. We extracted that from the total population age and projected it into 2050. We also did the same thing for the retirement population. And this is just for CEND alone. This is for the CEND region. This is not from the state of Nebraska. So this is for the CEND region. We can see that the working class population also decreases with time. And also the retirement population increases up to about 2035. And afterwards, it starts to decrease.
But you have that broken down by county?
Yeah, I can come up with that, but for the sake of this presentation, we didn't do that. But if you would want that data, we can fetch it for you and send you an email.
Some of that is in the existing set.
Okay.
So you guys want to take a look at that.
Okay.
About halfway through it. But if you look at the counties along the Kansas border, those are the ones where the aging workforce is really declining or increasing. The aging workforce is increasing pretty rapidly. Now, Jonathan and Lisa, Teresa, and Caleb, completely different story. Just proximity to Omaha and Lincoln, but Harley, Lucas, you're in a completely different arena there.
Okay. That's good to know. That's interesting to see as well. Those are questions that we can ask ourselves to, make sure that we come up with a very good set. Answer the question like of why do we have that kind of decrease? How do we address it? Is it something that's healthy to the region? Is it something that is unhealthy to the region? How do we come up with solutions that can actually solve it if it's unhealthy? So these are questions that we want you all to put at the back of your mind as we go further with the sets. We did a forecast of the unemployment for the same region for the state of Nebraska. And we can see that from 1990 to about 2019, well, unemployment has been fair. I can't say it's bad. We know that following the 2008 recession, there was a spike increase. There was a spike in unemployment in 2010. And after that, things went back to normal. But I'm excited to see how this would surface, especially after the pandemic that has happened. So digging further also, we broke down unemployment rate by county and did a comparison with Nebraska and the United States at large. The United States is at a cap of about 6.8% or so, and this is for 2020. I can't remember the exact figure, but I think it's about 6.9 or 6.8. And for Nebraska, it's about 4.1. And it was good to see that our region is actually doing well comparatively with the state of Nebraska. Unemployment rate is so good to look at. Like we're just doing well, and it's good to see that our margin is way below that of Nebraska. And Fayette County has the lowest unemployment rate. I'm curious to know as to why that is, though. That's interesting to see. Those.
It's just population and opportunities.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, like the industry to population ratio can affect how the unemployment rate looks like. Education too is a big thing when we're talking about resilience. We figure that for the Sand region, as well as for the state of Nebraska, we have a higher chunk of people with just high school diplomas and high school degrees. You know, building an economy should be in a way that also improves education. You know, so it just gives us an idea of where to put our strengths and where to put more money into and where to put more funds into. Do we want to encourage more people to have advanced degrees, or do we want to encourage more people to have, you know, college degrees, or do we want to keep it the way it is? Whatever the case may be, these are questions that we would love to figure out as we go down the road with the sets. An interesting thing is the industry sector for 2019. This data was collected from Stats America, and you can see that for the same region, local health services remain the highest employer of labor, collecting about 13% of the workforce, followed by hospitality establishments and government institutions as well. So this ladder puts into our head what industries are thriving and what industries need more help and what industries need more focus on. So if we decide to redirect our efforts on livestock processing, would that be healthy for the economy, or would that be unhealthy? You know, so these are interesting trends to see and interesting questions to look at. I mean, if you have any questions as we proceed, please feel free to ask. So the industry concentration related to the US is a location quotient data that compares industries that exist in the region. And it's fact that an industry with an LQ that is greater than 1.25 is meant to be a healthy industry, but an industry with less than 0.75 is meant to be I won't say unhealthy, but it's just a weak industry. And if we look at our future plan, this would tell us actually what industries we would need to focus on. I know arts and entertainment has been getting a lot of traction over the years. Yeah, I mean, also management of companies, administration and support has also been has also been spoken about. So do we want to focus efforts and re-strategize to make sure that industries in the weaker bottom can actually climb up to the top?
Yeah,
Hey, yep.
I saw on the previous slide that the hospitality restaurant industry was relatively high, but I know post-pandemic that's definitely impacted. And I'm just wondering, what you're seeing in terms of trends for recovery in that industry.
Yeah, yes, well, we're going to talk about that later on in the slides. There's a thing that economics actually call K recovery, and that is something that we're seeing in small businesses as well. And it also breaks it down into businesses in high income areas and low income areas. So we'll see that trend later on in the presentation. That's a good question too. There's a committing picture for 2019. It was collected from the Census Bureau of the United States. We see that for people flowing into the region, Cass County in Nebraska actually has a larger chunk of people flowing into the region. But on the other side of things, for individuals going outside of the region, a lot of people are moving into Douglas County, Saki and Platte, outside of the region. And there's a question I'm going to ask you guys later on to guess which counties have which counties are taking up part of the region and which counties are bringing up into the region. Following the 2019 data, this is like the top 5 counties that we could pick out. So we have a bottom 5 as well. So you guys would guess that answer. Do we know why a large chunk of people are moving into Douglas or other counties? Is there, I mean, there's not just one solution, but is there like an idea as to why that is happening, as to why we are seeing that happen in our region?
Saunders County, quite a few people work, but East Edge, Utan, they all
True.
headed to where's Caleb? Go either Douglas or Lancaster.
Cool. Interesting.
But are we a veteran community? That's the question. Is that what we want to be?
I mean, I wonder too. I wonder how we can make people stay and not make them leave. I wonder how we can do that, and I also wonder how we can attract more people if that is something we're looking at.
But if they're have high-paying jobs and they're just coming back, literally, thanks.
There you go. Sorry.
So what is the role of our communities? If they are working elsewhere and bringing their business,
Right.
back in and spending their money in our county, then that's
Yeah. So next then it is.
same thing with Nebraska City, right? You guys, where are we going?
I think a lot of people families want to raise their children in small communities. And so I think there's a mass desire for that to happen. I mean, my community in particular is like a really good example of that. Our average age is very young. Almost everybody there has kids, but they live and work. They live in Waverly. They work in Omaha's and Lincoln's. So it works for them. I mean, I think that that's a trend that people are willing to drive and commute to have a great family life, to have great family style.
They need housing choices that are appropriate to their means. And most of our communities like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the responses. I think also the CEDS would actually make sure that we focus on that. You know, if we're trying to ensure that our region has that rural appearance and, you know, safe environment, and we can make sure that the CEDS reflect that as well. So we did a housing and income study for got this for free contribution. You go.
Thank you.
You go. Sorry about that. So yeah, we did a housing and income study for our counties. And this is interesting to see that we're doing a good job with regards to housing and also the income that we as a region are giving to our workforce population. I think that looks healthy. I think that is good to look at. And we also did population housing. And although Lancaster was taken out of this data for some skewness that we didn't want to see, but so far we think the counties that are represented here are definitely healthy with regards to housing and population ratio.
Do you have any numbers on how this compares to other counties around the country or rural counties?
Yeah, that is something we can fetch after this presentation, but for the sake of this presentation, we didn't do that. But yeah, I think that is something we can get just to understand how it appears in other rural communities.
So real quickly, guys, on page 13 of this, there's a kind of breakdown of housing. Something I thought was pretty interesting is 73% of the houses in this region were built before 1980. That was kind of the break off because 1980, everything pre-1980 is, you know, calling out the lead. Used in construction of that house, so lead paint was allowed to be used to paint walls. Post 1979, 1980, that was removed from the shelves. I think it's pretty wild that 80%, 86% of the houses in Fillmore and Richardson counties were built before. If you even read that narrative on page 13, 42%. No, that's not right. Take a look at that. I think that's pretty wild. The statistics really show that most of the houses on that chart pretty old. And guessing they're older than Clichy.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know that for sure. But then there was also some neat articles written about this region in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, I believe, or Washington Post, about how housing is in demand here. And that was 3 years ago. I don't think it's improved. Houses that we are buying and flipping with sin, they're essentially gutted. I mean, they are exterior walls only. We're having to do everything else inside. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you deserve this, Paul. Thanks for that. Thank you.
We were having a conversation at Humboldt the other day.
Mhm.
Trying to figure out what was the newest house in town. That went up on Long Branch over there, going on Grand Avenue. And they're like, oh yeah, these are the new ones. And I was like, these were built in while I was in high school, or I was in elementary school. I mean, so like you can't look and go, well, 12 months ago and 18 months ago, it's 12 years ago and 18 years ago, kind of a thing. So, our superintendent's going to maybe put up a new house in town, and it's all buzz because it'll be the first one in a really long time. But he had a heck of a time finding a lot to put it on.
Okay.
There's a new 2-story house going into Fall City. It's the first one in 25 years.
Wow.
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 It's a new generation.
Like, you're handing out Smarties, who gets the dump?
Everyone is smart. There you go. Yeah, good catch.
When we're not paying attention anymore.
That's what the art came.
That's right. Weapons.
You know, these are good things to see. We're talking about age of infrastructure, age of housing. That is a good input for action steps that we're gonna talk about in the next meeting. And this is the vacancy rate for the Sand Region of Nebraska from 2013 to 2020. And has a fairly higher vacancy rate compared to the state of Nebraska as a whole. So this is new to me. Also wondering as to why that is, and also trying to wrap my head around the appearance of that data.
Probably some of them aren't habitable.
That's the thing.
Nobody wants to live.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or they are, but they can't get in touch with the property owner.
Right.
So, mhm.
Or there's some kind of lien against it that means it can't change hands, or there's.
You guys are gonna take all the Smarties, that's impressive. Okay. And for the rent, did that as well and projected it from 2013 to 2020. You can see that and has done a good job. Has done well in keeping the average rent below $600. I think the average rent for state of, I mean, this is relative anyway, but this is just a holistic approach to how rent is seen in the region versus Nebraska. So there's like a $200 gap between the average rent for Sand and the average rent for the state of Nebraska. And that is something to look at as well and talk about.
I'll just mention that the challenges today, I mean, we're looking at a 43 unit apartment building right now, and for 2 bedrooms, it'll be $1,000 a month.
Wow.
And that's just to basically, you know, make debt service and make a decent return. I mean, this isn't like 20-30%. I mean, this is like 10% or less return on investment. That's the reality of the cost of construction today. And I don't think it's much different in Seward County than it is in the whole region.
I don't think so either. Yeah, good point. You go.
I don't know.
I've always like dum dums.
Well, you good.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. I think Kelly, here you go. And so we have another set of questions. You can pull up your phone and let's get to business once again. If you're on Zoom, you can go to ahaveslides.com/CEDS or use code.
So nice to see you.
So I think. So this is a question I mentioned earlier. To keep at the back of your mind, you know, in your head, you just think about all the counties that we have large people from coming in quick.
We had it set for 45 seconds, and for some reason it decided to set it for 20 seconds.
Oh, that's
So
weird.
if it does it for the next one, be ready for a rapid fire question. for the next couple.
Okay, thanks for that. So I'll just skip to the next question then.
What is the answer to that question?
Can we go back?
I didn't get any points.
Oh.
I don't know what question this is, so.
So it's question for contributors into the region.
Okay, I think that's. Okay, 20 seconds. 15 seconds.
Can we increase it though?
Mine's not low.
He said I had
Never got to see the thing.
You can just increase it. Move it over again. I sorry about that.
Are we doing it again?
If you're getting an amnesty, I think I got it at work. Just 45 seconds.
I've already answered.
Mine said it already answered the
Oh.
question. Yeah.
These are dum dums.
Says I can't do.
I already got one.
Oh, you can't answer it? Yeah, I think for this, it's you have Brown, Kansas. You have Republic, Kansas. Washington as well. We have Grant, Nebraska, and Hamilton, Nebraska. These are like the other 5 counties. We have a lot of people from moving into the region.
For commuting for work.
Can get in.
Next question.
Can you quickly go back and
Yeah, now let me look at the slides real quick, because that's cheating.
so just increase it? You think?
Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
You have about 45 seconds to answer this. Okay. So the results, right? But
Yes, the check marks are correct. The X is.
so it says one part. Did it say one? Doesn't mean one person got it right. So what it means? Okay. Do you want to go to the?
Slides are a little wonky. so-
Okay, that's good to know. We still got that right. Is that what it means?
I didn't get any.
Still.
Oh, these are from the last one. Oh, can we scroll down a little bit to see if anyone got it right? Wow.
Yeah, I did guess one.
I think
You got one right?
You had to get all of them right.
Yeah.
They had to get all of them right to get points.
Oh.
But I mean, if you got one right,
Tough quiz, you're picking right on it.
yeah.
So everyone gets Smarties on that one.
Okay. Well, you're fine.
Right, great, next question.
Okay, yeah, we go to the next question.
Hopefully this counts, and I don't know time range.
Yeah, so this is something about diversity, which is something we may shy away from, but at the same time, it's also good to be aware of how diverse we could be or we are. You just have two options. Should be easy. This is from 2019. So it's pretty much recent. That's impressive. Yeah, that's the statistics from the 2019 Census Bureau population data. Guess who will want them? Oh, she's not gonna. Okay, that's fine. So this is just a graphical test, just to, because we don't want unemployment. We don't want high unemployment. So what does high unemployment look like when you look at any of this picture? Just you don't have one of this. They look tiny, okay? There you go, Tom.
Give me the whole bag.
Oh, no.
No, hold on a second.
Yeah, it's a no.
Don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, congrats. Jason, here you go. You're welcome. That's five, Crystal and Trevor. Crystal, thanks. Trevor.
Trevor's online.
Oh,
Throw it.
who wants to take this for Trevor though? Okay, got it.
Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, we can go to the planning for resilience. So it's a big mandate from EDA. By the way, the CEDS is like a document we need to secure funding from EDA. It's one of those things we actually need to have a grant for federal funds, and it's a thing that resilience should be part of our CEDS. And I think that is because as we try to think for forward processes, we should also try to focus on the present and try to make the present conditions more resilient. So with just some realities we can't escape. The pandemic happened previously, and also coupled with that is social unrest and a couple of protests that has happened. And this has led to a bit of a meltdown, or like a crisis in economy. And also another big thing is climate change. And our region is at that point where, climate happens to everything around us. Climate change is a global thing, and we are also getting from that change as well. So it's something to keep at the back of our mind to address issues like this, while we think about forward-thinking solutions for the CEDS. so far we know that some trends are slowing down. And also some trends are increasing. Some slowing trends include like small business startups and expansion. I think that has been going down. And also growing trends, we have remote work, virtual environments, and supply chain restructuring, infrastructure monitoring, which is nowadays we've realized that some infrastructures are aging. So it's actually important to like monitor those infrastructures and make sure that they're in good health, and broadband and internet improvements. We know that, I mean, slowing trends are things that we can address and things that we can improve over time. So with the pandemic and every other thing that has happened, we've built resilience out of that by ensuring that if we're doing planning, we do it at a community level where everybody's voice is heard, where there is active engagement amongst member communities. Also with the download in the economy, we're diving into creating business technical assistance in the way of like education and giving out information. Also with the protest and all of that, we are now looking at the idea of focusing our efforts on diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that is also going at a global speed as well. And for the climate change and things of sustainability, we're looking into going into farmer education indirectly, equipping farmers with the right knowledge and the right resources to ensure that the agricultural economy, which is like the backbone of the economy, is actually doing well. We've heard of cases where people aren't aware of future conditions of drought and flooding as well. So these are things that we can do. These are things we can address and, you know, try to be the knowledge hub of that kind of information. And also reducing the carbon footprint on the air. We're also looking for ways to dive into green energy and sustainability, because that is the future of ensuring that climate change is not harmful. So this is the K-shaped recovery thing I spoke about earlier on. This is new as well, that it shows how small businesses are reacting amongst themselves with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. We can see that at 0%, we can call that line the line of stability. And like right after the COVID case, we can see that small businesses are shut down. And you can see that sharp decline indicating that businesses weren't surviving, businesses weren't thriving. But as we move past that, we can see that there's resilience building up and people are recovering bit by bit. But what strikes me most is the disparity between small businesses in high-income neighborhoods and small businesses in middle-income neighborhoods. You can see that more small businesses are opening more in middle-income neighborhoods compared to high-income neighborhoods. That is something interesting to see. The interaction is quite amazing. I wonder why that would happen too. Maybe rent isn't expensive in middle-income neighborhoods to keep the business open. I mean, just a couple of questions that I'm thinking in my head, but there could be more to it. Another thing we saw was in employment. You can see that low-wage earners are still trying to get back to the line of stability. Like right above that, we know that middle-income earners are doing well, right above stability, and high-income earners are doing well, right above stability. And I do not know how long this will take. for low-income earners to actually get to that point. So that is something we can also discuss about. How do we make sure that people who are in the low income earning threshold can actually survive more and do better? Do we want to equip them with the right resources to earn high income paying jobs, or do we want to create more high income paying jobs? So the questions that we can ask from this is endless, but it also does a good job of exposing our eyes to the disparities that exist in our state and in our region. Another thing that was interesting to see was the recovery from spending habits. We see that people who earn low incomes actually spend more than those who have a high income and middle income. And I don't know if that's a good thing or that's a bad thing, or if people in the low income earning threshold need to do more or do well with money. So maybe there's some education we can do on our parts to ensure that people are doing the right things with money and not doing the wrong things. So we have one more question, and about that time, we can get back in the game, and we can hear your thoughts on a couple of questions we've asked. So this is an open-ended question. So we tried our best to talk about the CEDS, but now we're leaning to you to hear your thoughts and on what the economy needs, and what you think the economy would need to stay more vibrant. Just whatever thing you think is necessary. And these are things that we are planning to use for our SWOT analysis in the next meeting. So we're gonna go into a deeper dive of breaking this down and addressing the issues individually. Some interesting replies and responses. Thanks, Trevor. I think that's a good responses, and we'll definitely talk about those and address those individually in our next meeting. That's it. Interesting. So that's it for this question. Right. We can head over to the last slide. Which we can. Yep. Uh, So we had our last sets in 2018. So this session is just me highlighting a couple of things we've done that speaks on progress and speaks on success. So since the last sets, we've done a bit of collaboration and education journey as well. We collaborated with UNL recently, and this opportunity actually gave 5 students hands-on experience and understanding economic dynamics in our region. Also, we're doing a couple of broadband studies, and also part of the collaboration with UNL was to figure out the level of water infrastructures that are at risk in our region, and the students were impressed with that project, and they actually came up with a good recommendations. And also, as a region, we've improved over 200 homes and generated funds for over 100 businesses in the region, which in turn created over 50 jobs. And with regards to resilience, we're also planning to adopt a regional resiliency plan for the region. So the thing with resilience is most of our counties or most of our member communities, we don't speak one language with regards to resilience. So we are working to adopting a resiliency plan that can speak for the region and also speak for member and individual communities and counties as well. So we're here to the end of the meeting. Caleb is going to go around and pass the assignments that we will need for the coming meeting in June. Talks about the strengths, weakness, and opportunities and threats. It will be great if you're able to put your thoughts down and let us know what you think. Let us know what strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what our opportunities are, and what the threats are. This is something you can do in the comfort of your home, comfort of your space. We would need it ready on or before the next meeting, which is on June 3rd, I believe so. And I would try my possible best to keep every one of you updated on future meetings and future things we need to get ready for the sets. Is that everything? Is there a slide? Okay. So is there any additional question? Is there anything we need to address today for the next meeting?
Just gonna get sent out electronically.
Yes, we're definitely issuing out an electronic copy. Okay.
So you can fill it out like.
You'll be able to read what I write.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the next meeting, we're going to be talking more about the SWOT. We're going to be talking about strategies. We're going to be talking about tentative projects and tentative timeline that we need to put in the sets. Our sets as a document is due September, so we're fighting to get input as early as possible. working too hard to make sure that it's ready before September. So we're looking at August as a good time for us to get it ready. So your input and your suggestions for the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats would actually do a good job of making the CEDS a reliable document for economic development in the region. And thank you very much. I'll make the presentation available on the website, and there's a video of this recording. It's going to be up on our YouTube page. Thank you very much and have a